Wednesday, March 16th, 2022, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today we're going to look at the petrodollar again. I think the fundamentals for commodities, for precious metals, are still very strong. They haven't gone away, but there's some very important news about the petrodollar. And we're going to look at that at a Wall Street Journal article. Wall Street Journal is very pro-dollar, of course. It's the mouthpiece of Wall Street, like the FT is the mouthpiece for the City of London and the whole Anglo-American financial system. Before I look at the article, though, I like to talk about patience, because I think that's really important, especially when you know that something is wrong or something is right, that you stick to your guns, that you do the right thing. And even when it seems like it's a hopeless endeavor, you got to keep at it. And the reason I'm talking about this is that I just heard that yesterday the British government, they've scrapped all travel restrictions when you travel back to the UK. So even people who haven't been vaccinated can travel into the UK with no tests, no certificates, no nothing. So yes, a lot of people were pushed into those things because they wanted to travel. But and I almost thought about it, because I wanted to come here to see my mother, my sisters, my brother-in-law, my nephew. But I said, no, I'll have to wait. And at one point I thought if whether I was ever going to be able to really see them again. But now it's all unraveled. And why am I talking about this? Well, because patience is very important, especially when you know you're doing the right thing. And that goes to the monetary, to the investment kind of theme of this channel. Even though we're not giving advice, we're telling you our opinion of things. So what is our view here? What do we think is right? Well, what we think is right is that the monetary system should be fair. We should have honest weights and measures, because money is a commodity. It's the most marketable commodity. It has to be something of value, not what government or central banks tell you it should be, and it shouldn't be artificially manipulated. So historically, of course, that has been many things, the most marketable commodity. And the most marketable commodity, of course, is something that everyone wants in exchange for anything else, and it makes barter obsolete, of course, and it makes indirect exchange very easy. It makes also saving surplus value that you create easy as well, i.e. savings, because it's durable, it's stable, and it lasts for thousands of years. It also makes accounting and it makes accounting easy. It makes payment easy, and that has evolved into being gold and silver. And many people have forgotten that gold and silver are money, and what we use as money today, as Rafi Faber says, they're just substitutes for the dollar, for the Swiss franc, for whatever. Just go back and see what a dollar means, where it originates from. It's a silver dollar coin. Swiss franc, the same. Everything is to do with the weight of the metal. And of course, we've been waiting a lot longer than I had to wait for these restrictions about COVID to be removed. But I think we're very near where the public, or at least enough people, are going to wake up to unravel this fiat currency monetary system that has been benefiting very few, because they're very wealthy. They can protect themselves, but the general public has been basically, generally speaking, throughout the world, they've been cheated. They work hard, long hours, and they get paid with currencies everywhere around the world where they can't even sustain themselves. So that's the lesson for the day. Enough of that. Not the lesson, but my view. I don't want to sound too righteous, of course, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But I thought this was significant. The petrodollar. Petrodollar was the way the United States has been able to keep the dollar, a demand for the dollar ever since Nixon closed the gold window. And the dollar became as good as nothing, really. It used to be as good as gold. So they had to find a way to create demand from everyone around the world for dollars. So what they did a deal with the Saudis in around 1974. And the deal was the Americans would protect Saudi Arabia militarily. And Saudi Arabia, the biggest oil producer at the time, would only sell their oil in dollars. And they also ran OPEC, which is the organization of petroleum exporting countries, the major exporting countries. So the whole world basically had to buy their oil in dollars. And oil is something that everyone needs for energy. And that's how it evolved. But over the decades, especially in the last 20 years, a lot of oil-producing countries have wanted to expand in terms of what they would accept for their oil. Saddam Hussein said he wanted to accept euros. We know what happened to him. But now I think what's happening is going to be very difficult to stop. And all that means is there's going to be less demand for US dollars. And when Saudi Arabia, the major oil producer, one of the majors now, it's not the biggest anymore, but when they consider accepting Yuan instead of dollars for Chinese oil sales, you need to listen to this. You need to be aware of it. And it might not be a huge amount of oil when you consider all the oil that's traded worldwide, but the fact that it's with China probably is going to be the biggest economy very soon in the world, and the fact that this gives a green light to other countries that are considering it. So I think we're seeing, and I've been speaking about the waning importance of the petrodollar for about 5 years, because we could see things like the Shanghai gold exchange, the oil exchange in China, where they can trade oil in yuans. We could see the bilateral agreements between countries like Russia and China and others to trade with their own currencies. We could see that the United States has been using the dollar as a political weapon to sanction countries that are not doing what they want them to do. And a world currency, world money should be something neutral from politics. It should be for trade and commerce, not used as a weapon. And we know what's happened now in the last month to do with Russia and Ukraine, how Russia's been punished severely. And the rights and wrongs of what happened is not the point here. The point is that other countries are seeing this. They're saying, we can't just rely on the dollar. We could be shut off completely. So, and the fact that it's come out of the Wall Street Journal is very important. So I've gone through this article. I'm going to put a link to it in the description under archive.ph. So if you don't pay for the Wall Street Journal, you can still read it. That's what I do. I don't subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. I used to. But they're kind of saying that they're trying to play it down a little bit, and they would. But I think it's very serious. And just going to read you here the last few paragraphs. And it says, another official familiar with the talk said Yuan pricing could give the Saudis more influence with the Chinese and help convince Beijing to reduce support for Iran. Excuse me. Ali Shihabi, that's a Saudi official who sits on the board of NEOM and formerly ran a pro-Saudi think tank in Washington, said the kingdom can't ignore China's desire to pay for oil imports in its own currency, particularly after the US and EU blocked Russian central bank from selling foreign currencies in its reserves stockpile. And this is what he said again, and I quote, Mr. Shihabi. And NEOM is an institution in Saudi Arabia that's trying to drive Saudi Arabia. It's a government institution trying to develop Saudi Arabia into more of a technology center. Anyway, he says any doubts countries had about the need to diversify into Yuan and other currencies, geographies, would have ended with that huge step. Mr. Shihabi tweeted in response to this article. So there you go. As I said earlier, the fundamentals for having commodities, especially gold and silver, are better than ever. We should ignore the volatility. Of course, we have the Fed meeting today. It's going to be important to see. Of course, I think they're going to raise by 25. That's priced in. What people are waiting for is the press conference and what Jay Powell and the announcements say about future policy going forward. I have a feeling they're going to have a very tough time tightening too far, because we're seeing how the stock markets, even though we had a big up day yesterday, the NASDAQ is still down, let's see, 17% on the year. The S&P is down over 10% of the year, and the bond markets are down quite a bit. So unless they step back a little bit, we could see continued selling in paper assets. And yeah, we just have to see what happens this evening or afternoon in the US. So the other thing that you need to remember is that a lot of commodities are priced, all of them are priced in US dollars. But there are exchanges popping up in China to trade things like base metals. And we saw that the LME shot itself in the foot by canceling trades in nickel. So I think it's not just going to be oil that's going to be priced in Yuan or even other currencies like the ruble. It's going to be a lot of other commodities. So the dollar is going to be in less demand, and a lot of dollars are going to be flowing back into the States, and all that means is going to be higher prices, and it's going to affect Europe as well because we're dollar-based currency. So rising cost of living is still going to continue, unfortunately. Some people call it inflation. I call it rising prices. So with that, let's look at where the markets are this morning. I am early this morning. It's 7:23 a.m. Swiss time or European time. And we've got spot gold at 19.15. It's down just over $2. High's been 25, and we're right near the lows here, 19.15. Silver actually performed relatively well yesterday towards the end of the day. It was actually almost up, was up slightly towards the end of the day, came down. I noticed my metals, the miners that I have, actually did quite well, which is an interesting phenomena. Who knows? At least we've retested here the breakout of 1920. So, as I said, patience. That's the most important thing that I can tell you about precious metals right now. I know a lot of you think it's never going to happen, but I think it will, because eventually nature takes over, because the economy, humans, everything is more to do with nature than just a few men manipulating paper prices. Their game is almost up, in my opinion. So silver is down 7 cents, 24.80. High's been 25 exactly. The low 24.76. The Dow future is up 100, NASDAQ is up 114, S&P is up 18, the FTSE is up about 83, Euro Stocks is up about 1.6% or up 62 points. To the currencies, they rebounded yesterday as well versus the dollar. Sterling is up slightly this morning at 130.55. The euro is up about 0.2 at 109.73. The dollar is unchanged versus the yen, 118.28. Dollar's down a third versus the Chinese yuan at 636. And the dollar's down slightly versus the Swiss franc at 93.96. Aussie dollar is up 0.5%, 72.25. The dollar is down 0.2 versus the loonie, 127.40. And the Kiwi dollar is up 0.2 at 67.80. To the commodities, WTI crude is up 2.33%, 97.30. Brent is back up above 100. It's at 101.20, up 2.75%. High-grade copper is up 1.2% at 4.57. And just to finish off, the 10-year yield is actually probably the highest it's been this year and in a long time. Even though we're unchanged, we're about 217 on the 10-year yield. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.